Hello everyone, Dhruv here again with Comet for another video on Kangas. And this video, we're going to be talking about how to use DataGrids with the HuggingFace Hub. Specifically, what we're going to look at is how you can combine the HuggingFace Hub uh, with DataGrids and use it as a way, use the hub as a way to save your model evaluations so that you have access to them pretty much anywhere. So once I have run an evaluation with for a model using the DataGrid, I can upload the DataGrid file to the Hugging Face Hub, and then if I want to run or access or download the evaluations on another machine, I can just directly download my model evaluation file from the hub. So let's get into it. So the first thing we'll do is install our dependencies. This means installing Hugging Face transformers, datasets, and the Hugging Face Hub library. The next thing we'll do is log into our Hugging Face account using the Hugging Face CLI, which is this line over here. Next, we will run this prediction script. We're going to be using the CFAR10 dataset with the clip model, and we're going to be saving the predicted label, the class label, the image, as well as the probability scores that the model outputs to our DataGrid. And this file is basically what is the output of this predict.py script. So once we have this file, which will be called cfar10 test.datagrid, we're going to upload this file by running a script, and the script will basically contain just a snippet. Pretty minimal. It's just using the Hugging Face Hub HF API object, and with that object, we just pass in a repo ID, a path to the DataGrid file that we want to upload, and then we also pass in another argument, which is the path for the file in the repo. So if we want to, if you have a nested path and you want to change the path, how the path appears for the file in the repo, you can pass in this argument and it will update the path in the Hugging Face repo. Now, running this script assumes that you have already created a dataset repository on the Hugging Face Hub. I have already done that before this video. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But if you haven't done that, I recommend just looking at the Hugging Face documentation for how to create a new dataset repository on the hub through their UI. So once we upload the DataGrid file to the hub, it's basically accessible anywhere. We can then download the file. So this is what the file will look like in the dataset repository on the hub. And then once we have this file, the CFAR10 DataGrid file logged to the hub, we can load it in from anywhere, pretty much using this effectively like a one-liner. So we just use DataGrid's read DataGrid function, and we just pass in the hub download function as an argument. And to this hub download function, we would pass in our repo ID, the file name that we want to download. We hard code this repo type as dataset because it's a dataset repository, and we'll also pass in this use auth token argument if this is a private repository. I believe that if the dataset repository is public, you do not need to use an authentication token, but we'll just leave this in here anyways for the sake of examples. And finally, we also pass in to our script, our download DataGrid script. We pass in a port. So if you wanted to change the port that DataGrid, that the Kangas server actually starts on, you can just pass in this argument. By default, the server will use port 4000. So let's get started running this example. So the first thing we're going to do is run our predict.py file. So I'm in my DataGrid repo. I'm going to activate my virtual environment. Great. And then I'm gonna specify which Python environment to use. I'm gonna run my predict.py script. Now this will run for a little bit. We'll check back in once it's finished. And we're back. So it looks like our model has finished making a prediction. And as you can see, here is the file, cfar10-test.datagrid, that's been saved in our working directory. So the next thing we're going to do is upload this file to the HuggingFace Hub. So we do that by just running following line. So our repo ID will be, in this case, Comet clip eval. And we're calling our repo clip eval because we're using the clip model to make these predictions. So essentially, in a real world use case, you would have a single dataset repository for a particular type of model, and you could store all your model predictions as Datagrids in this repository. So it's easy to pull up a set of predictions made by the model for further analysis down the line. And we'll call, and the path to our file is cfar10 datagrid, cfar10 test.datagrid, and then we'll just say the path in the repo will also be cfar10 test.datagrid. So that script ran pretty fast. So that means that our file has been uploaded to the HuggingFace dataset repo. Let's take a look at what this repo looks like. So if I go to HuggingFace, go to the Comet HuggingFace account, scroll down to datasets, files. You can see that our cfar10 datagrid has been uploaded. It just happened about a minute ago. So now that our datagrid has been stored in our dataset repository, let's access it. So on the left side over here, I'm basically on my local machine. When I was running those predictions and uploading the results, I was on a remote server with a GPU, but I'd like to do my analysis on my laptop. So we can just take a look at what this looks like. So you can see the current folder, there is no cfar10.test.datagrid file, so the file doesn't exist on my laptop. What I'm going to do is download the file to my laptop and open it in a DataGrid. So this download from hub script is going to do all of that for me. So I'm just going to activate my virtual environment. Datagrids. There we go. And then I'm going to run my download from hub script. So the repo ID is comet/clip-eval, and the file name would be cfar10-test.datagrid. So downloaded the file. It's opened up a new tab in my browser. And there you have it. So this is our data grid. It has our predicted labels, our ground truth labels, the scores for the individual categories according to our model. We can do things like we can you can't select anything in the selector because the data grid has been saved to another location. But we can do things like group by label. And here we have it. We have a nice visualization for our predictions grouped by the individual label. So we can see that for the category aeroplane, the second highest predicted category was bird. Makes sense because I'm assuming most of the images of aeroplanes will be of them in the sky, and I'm assuming most pictures of birds will also have them be in the sky. So it makes sense that our model would think that pictures of aeroplanes look like birds. So this is a very nice way to debug your object detection models. You can find out more about DataGrid in the link below. So now we've seen what this looks like on our local machine. What if we wanted to run it in a notebook? So I have this Colab notebook ready to go. So I've already installed my dependencies. So I've only installed the HuggingFace Hub and Kangas. That's all I really need because I'm not using any models. I'm just looking at data. And I've already logged in to the hub. So all I'm going to be doing is running the snippet. So this snippet basically uses the read datagrid function, and we pass in the HF hub download function as an argument with the same arguments that we use for our script. So our repository will be the Comet/clip-eval repository, and the file that we're looking at is cfar10-desk.datagrid. So if I just run the cell, it will download the data grid and display it in the notebook. So here I can use these, so I can reuse this notebook if I had different data grid files saved to this repository, right? And all I would have to change is the single file name. So I could just reuse this notebook to evaluate multiple model predictions in a very easy way, and it's only 3 cells. So this makes model evaluation very, very easy because you just have a very sophisticated image analysis tool ready to go, essentially with 3 lines of Python. Well, not 3, a few lines of Python. So yeah, I could do a group by again over here, group by label. The visuals will update again. I'll be able to see the same thing. You can look at score distributions. You can look at the images in more detail. So I can scroll through all of these. Yeah, there you have it. So that was our guide on how to use Kangas DataGrids with the HuggingFace Hub, and just how easy it is to now have a central place to store your model evaluations and a great format to store your model evaluations, especially for image data. DataGrid works out of the box for object detection, image segmentation, and image classification use cases, and more use cases are on the way. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe to the Comet YouTube channel. We're coming out with more DataGrid and other model evaluation content very soon.